Hopefully. All right. Let's get into here. There it is. There it is. I'm Dora, Alabama. Always the first or one of the first people in here. What's going on? What's going on, Kyle? Imelda. Umberto. Just taking a look at some things real quick. What's going on, Michael? All right, let's get all this stuff together. Satellite working. Satellite is working. Just make sure pivotal is up. Let's get pivotal up. Properties. Or actually, let's get weather bell up. There we go. Let's take a look at some of these GFS. GEFS weeklies. So we'll go here. GFS ensemble panels, temperature, anomaly members. Some strong signals of quite the push of cold air through let's see, first signal, we've got that big push of cold air coming out through the northwest, down through the plains. Well, trying to get to the plains. Some of these models do not have this cold air reaching the plains. Some of it does. Definitely upper Midwest, potentially Ohio Valley. That's early next week, that first cold blast. The second cold blast, which could be much bigger, looks to be some models bringing in October 11th, some bringing in October 12th, 13th. Some are super aggressive with it. Very interesting. Going back to our Euro. Here's this cool air pushing in. Still. Let's see, where am I? Still. Oops, I won't do that. Yeah, still as we get into the beginning of next week, this is Monday, where this troughing wants to try and enter the States and push out east. Although East Coast is going to have a bunch of nice cool air for at least the next few days. So that'll be a good relief for them. What's going on, NTX? B, what's poppin'? Marissa, JR. Imelda might try to become the dominant storm. Yeah, you think there's a scenario where this strengthens enough where this storm tries to cut back? I'll show you what I'm looking at. I mean, these are moving off. I'm wondering why they have Umberto just to a tropical storm here and then gone. No depression or anything out here. Interesting. Imelda's definitely the much better looking storm at this point. Like, organized. It's got a much, you know, it's all of its sectors have some convection in it, unlike our northeasterly tilted Hurricane Umberto. You know, this is, you can clearly see the cyclonic motion here, and this is just getting shoved off. I mean, it's getting the shear right now from Imelda. They are done cloud seeding. Only reason it turned. All right, whatever you say. Why does the East Coast receive rainfall most of the weekends? I don't know. It's just random. Any signs of anything in the Caribbean in the future? A little bit. Probably be a shorter stream today. I'm tired. I had a long day today. Morgan, what's going on? I appreciate you. What's going on, Jasmine? Let's see here. We've got some signals out here for some more activity in the tropical Atlantic. We have some weak signals out here in the Gulf. And we have some more signals out here in the Western Atlantic. That's at least from our Google DeepMind. Any rain next week in Arizona? Well, here's the rainfall we could expect over the next 5 days. You know, we can go to 7. Still not really seeing much for Arizona. We do have a tropical system that's going to try to move inland here. I don't know. If it takes a little bit farther of a westerly of a track, that could push that moisture into Arizona. But right now, it looks like still a week out. Arizona's dry. And so is, I mean, this is like a 1/10 of an inch. This is all dry as well, basically a week out, according to kind of some of these latest runs. Unfortunately, I know a lot of you guys are like, we need rainfall. The drought's growing out here. The drought is, in fact, growing out here. Sadie, what's poppin'? Mo, I appreciate the follow. There's our current drought. Clearwater, Tampa. We talking about Tampa region? What? Rainfall? What are you talking about? I mean, Florida's got a lot of rainfall in its future, other than Panhandle. Most of Florida is expecting to get a decent amount of rainfall. I think a lot of this is in the coming days. Let's look at our 1 to 5. Yeah. I mean, most of this area I circled here isn't going to receive more than maybe a tenth of an inch of rain over the next week, at least. Unfortunately. Let me see. Sorry, I'm reading something. All right. Bro, what's going on, Kalina? Does Florida ever not have rain? I mean, it's in the subtropics, so it's supposed to have a lot of rain. It's a peninsula surrounded by warm water. Science 101. You're always going to have the chance for random storms, even on days where it says it's not going to rain. You can have some random convection pop up. You know what I mean? Raw weather, raw. Okay. Hey, why am I in a circle? Because you're probably not going to see rainfall for a while. I want to show you guys something. I don't want to get people's hopes up, but we're seeing some pretty good signals of... a lot of people want this fall air returning, and we're seeing some pretty strong signals of it. I've been talking about it again. You know, this was originally looked like we'd go back into this pattern beginning of October. It's looking more like second week, mid-October, but it's here, and it looks pretty good. I'll show you kind of just the GFS deterministic. Take this with a grain of salt, but I'll show you where the confidence behind it is. It's our latest 18Z GFS. There's our first push of cold air as we get into the beginning of next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And you can see we have this kind of, I'll show you the 500 millibar in a little bit, but this cold air trying to push into the plains. Then we get a little bit drifting out east again. This is well below average air. That's going to be drifting out east if this does happen like that. But then behind it, this right here, do you see this coming in like Kamehameha? Like, psh, like look at that. Psh, dumping in. We'd get some snow up in the northern plains probably if this happened, upper Midwest potentially. But the GFS is very confident on quite about a week, 7 to 10 days of just very well below average air. across a large portion of the country. Now, this is far out in the GFS deterministic, so you don't want to take this too seriously. But let's look at a few things here. If we were to take a look at our Euro 18Z, we know we see this first push of cold air. We know that's confirmed. And if we look at our European ensembles, let's go back to our 12Z Euro ensemble panels. I want to see what are the odds of this event actually taking place. Here we go. All right, so if we push out there where the GFS gets really, really aggressive and we do it on the 12Z of the Euro, well, guess what? There are a lot of Euro runs that see something similar. Here we go. There's that really strong trough. Same here. It's a little farther out west. Same here. It's pushing in, pushing in. Same here, same here, same here. A little bit out east. Same here. Most of the country is cold down here. So you've got a little bit of, you've got the GFS and Euro, remember, which have different algorithms, different ways of seeing if they expect us to get cold air or not, or different ways that they read weather data and come to their conclusions, having us very cold in the middle of October, and that transition could begin at the beginning of next week. We'll probably have another heat wave before our second big push cold air, but a little bit of confidence in the GFS and European ensembles there. And then, of course, I like looking at our Canadian ensemble as well, because there's one thing Canadian can do good at is temperatures. Don't look at it for hurricanes. You don't want to look at it for severe weather and stuff like that. But temperatures, Canadian can be pretty good. It does see this trough moving in, as I said, beginning of next week. We got cold air trying to push down into the plains. Confirmed. The Canadian sees that just like the GFS. Trying to. We're going to see if it gets into the plains. But the Canadian sees that just like the GFS and European. And then does the Canadian see that second trough, that mega trough, mid-October? Well, yes, it does. Not on all its models, but there it is. 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 This would be huge. So the point of this is there's a signal out there from 3 different globals there, all within the same time frame, showing us a certain, the same type of event taking place. Let me take a look at something. Give me 1 second, guys. One second. Okay. Let's get back here. So we've got GFS, Canadian, Euro, and then the Euro AI model. Our AI model agrees. That's good. Our deterministic models deterministic globals are potentially keeping up with our AI models. That's good. But yeah, strong signal for at least this upcoming cool down for the northern plains and upper Midwest and Northwest is coming at the beginning of next week. The question is, how far down to the south does it get? I was talking about that yesterday. I'll take questions in a second. I was talking about that yesterday. Like this is pretty likely to see these cool temperatures move in. How far down does it push? But what we're really watching is what happens after that. What we're really watching is this one that wants to be kind of what we consider a very amplified trough that wants to push across the states, give some people some early season snow in mid-October, potentially even up in portions of the northern Midwest. So they all see it happening. They all see it happening in different ways. Why? Of course, we've got an Alaskan ridge that's being projected to build up here. Not too hard to understand. When you get that's northern hemisphere. I don't want that. Let's go North America. When you get high heights up here in Alaska, you're gonna have the opposite out to the east of it. That troughing out to the east that sets up the U.S. for very, very cold air. And because we've been so cold or so warm through the last 2 to 3 weeks of September, what's been happening up above us is we've had a lot of warmth down here, including up through portions of Canada. So we've had a lot of cold air building. An Alaskan ridge is going to shove against that cold air, and it's going to be a little cooler because the polar vortex has been doing its thing up there uninterrupted for a little bit. So you get a little bit of extra cold air. It doesn't hurt. It does not hurt that we have so much more snow than we typically have for this time of year. Global temperatures as I've said, multiple streams, are the coolest they've been in like 5 years. Typically up here in Siberia, we'll have about this much snow. Now we have this much. The last 10 years, we've probably had ice that was backed up to here. Now we have all this extra ice here and extra snow in Alaska. So this is really good for cold air buildup in the Arctic and in northern Siberia and northern Canada. And the longer that charges up, the longer that continues to charge up, the stronger it is when it drops down. So when we see this mid-October Alaskan ridge building, this may end up being, a lot of times the models overdo the cold. I think they might be underdoing it if we really get that amplified of a ridge settling into Alaska with more ice than we've seen in 10 years and more snow than we've seen in at least 5 and cooler global temperatures than we've seen in at least 5. I think our models are underestimating the cold we could see mid-October. I think those are conditions where you could get snow in like, no, you could get snow. I'm not in the South, but portions of Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, South Dakota, maybe even northern Iowa. If you get a really, really amplified trough off of all this building cold air, really early season stuff. So something to think about. Something to think about. Yeah, I got to put out my new winter prediction video. What's going on, Pam? Let's take a look at what our Enzo's doing right now. I don't think we have any major updates on it. Really quickly, just for fun, we can also take a look on if we're seeing anything out here in the tropics. Yeah, the GFS sees 2 potential systems at about 220 hours out. I mean, not La La Land, but also not too worried about that yet. But these would be 2 potential systems, one coming out of the tropical Atlantic, one potentially forming in the Western Caribbean. Something to keep watch on. And then the GFS does have another system trying to form out here in the Gulf as well at the end of the run. So conditions are still shaping up like we're going to have some enhanced tropical activity in October. Something to think about, but nothing to worry about at this very moment. And here we go. We entered our weak La Nina territory. I mean, it's interesting because to be in a weak La Nina, you need to be between -5 degrees Celsius and -1 degree Celsius in your ENSO 3.4 region for at least 3 months straight. If you take a look at this, we entered that at around, let's call it July 15th, but then we came out of it for a second. So are they going to count this as the official, August 10th as the official countdown for weak La Nina? Because if they do that, then we're 5 weeks away from a five weeks away from a weak La Nina. But this to me, it should be when it started here, because we're right on that -0.5 degree mark. And if that's the case, then we're about 2 to 3 weeks away from entering our technical weak La Nina. You see what I'm saying? Leanne, what do you think? Did we start our weak La Nina countdown here, or did we start it here? Because this to me is riding the -0.5. I think they're going to say here. Took 3 minutes to scroll out. You may have a little bit of a you're going to have a cooldown in October for sure in Missouri. We'll see if you get this first one. Yeehaw! Ride him, cowboy. I hope I got that one. Yali, what's going on? Did I just miss it? I know. They'll probably go with the second time. Well, you know what? Once it gets to about October 16th, then I'm going to have to disagree with Noah. Leanne Cantori. True. People are going to come into my stream and be like, what are we looking at? This is so boring. I got to get out of there. Still nice and cold down there at the equator. This to me is This is looking like a moderate La Nina here. Oh, snap. That was sick. Thank you, Pam. Everyone shout out Pam. W's in the chat. Damn, Pam. Can we create a shirt that says, damn, Pam, with the with the Connor's Climate Corner logo on it? Or maybe down the sleeve, damn, Pam. Yeah, someone write that down for me. I feel like our NPO's cooling slightly, but with this ridge we expect to have setting up here, we're probably going to see these temperatures go up. Still well above average. Still well above average. But we don't have this big pile of heat right here for the moment. A moderate La Nina would just mean... a moderate La Nina would mean even colder conditions potentially for the northern tier states. But potentially a little bit warmer for the southwest and southeast. A weak La Nina is what you want if you want a pretty cold winter for most of the U.S. For the OG corny crew peeps. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's weird buying winter merch right now because it's like 90 degrees outside when it's not supposed to be. I'm gonna take another look at this. This is what are we, September 30th, 2025. We've got September 30th, 2024. Look at that difference. Where is all of our ice here? Where is all of our snow here? Watch those gaps fill in a little bit. Ready? You see that? 2024, 2025. Let me do it again. That makes a big difference on our winter, guys. That's so much more cold air buildup. There's 2024. There's 2025. Same exact time of the year, September 30th. Let's look at 2023. Look at our ice. Okay, our ice is a great transfer of cold air down into the States. And look at the snow here. Look at the difference from 2023 to now. Ready? That's 2023. That's now. I mean, and with the weak La Nina that we're looking at, this is going to enhance our cold air. You can see why they're thinking such a cold up front this winter. The orange is ice tufts, and the blue is snow cover. Current snow cover. There's just so much more ice and snow cover than any time in the last 5 years on September 30th. We're ahead of schedule. We have more ice than we typically do this time of year up in the Arctic. We have more snow in Siberia. We have more snow along portions of the northwestern Canada and in Greenland. And what this does is this builds up, and this creates a stronger polar vortex. You get a lot more cold air build up here. And then as we get our jet stream pushing north, and as we get some ridging up north, and that polar vortex is disrupted, it's releasing colder air than would typically be up there. It's a good extra snow and extra ice up in the Arctic. It can really like I said, enhance the U.S. winter, snow and cold wise. And we have the amount of ice is pretty drastic, especially when you go back to 2023 for this time of year. I mean, look at the ice. Look at the ice in 2023. Look at all of this missing. Look at this. Look at all of this snow missing. And then we move up to current, and it's all there. This whole area, and here's filled in, and this area filled in as well. So it's a good sign. Good sign for winter lovers. Oh my god. Yali. Jasmine, I appreciate you. Yali, that was crazy. Why did that one have sound but not the motorcycle? That was actually sick. I appreciate it, Yali. Can we see on our European... Let me check something out for you guys. I want to see on our European AI deterministic model what's going on down here in the States. So here's our AI model, okay? Artificial intelligence. See, this is where it thinks we are at the beginning of next week. So we're below average everywhere in here. So again, if you're out here in good old Omaha, our Euro AI model expects you to cool down. Now, this is very similar to the Euro deterministic. Now, does our Euro AI model see this major cold blast mid-October? It sees it trying to... you can see it here. It sees the signal here trying to push in. And it gets confused at the end of this run. Have they updated our Canadian monthly temperature anomaly? Interesting. Look at where the Canadian thinks now is going to be the coldest in October. Going into November, expects a lot of average, below average areas, and then the northern tiers take over during winter, of course, with the weak La Nina. Has our CFS updated that as well? CFS sees everything way hotter than it's supposed to be, though. One interesting one to look at here is the European. The European isn't going to see cold. Typically, it's rarely going to see cold. So even when you see average temperatures, that usually means it's pretty cold. October. Yeah, the Euro just sees warm air all the time on their seasonal outlook. No surprise there. It says my area will be cold. I agree 1,000%. I know my area too. 10,000%. How do the Carolinas look? Well, you're gonna get a little bit of cool air moving into the Carolinas over the next few days. Look at our temperature anomalies moving into the East Coast. Let me go over to the east. I'll go over to let's go regions east. Here's over the next few days, getting into tomorrow. This would be tomorrow afternoon. We could have average to below average temperatures sinking out east. That stays the same through Thursday, and then tries to stick around through Friday, which it looks like it will, and then we'll see what happens. I think a lot of this cool air will probably be moving out Saturday, Sunday. But you guys have a nice cool down along the eastern seaboard here. This is going to be fall-like weather for sure for a lot of you guys. Moving up, if you want to look at like, okay, so let's look at our wind chills with that type of cool down. We're talking about apparent temperatures down into the 40s and 50s, low 40s or low 50s, high 40s down here through the Carolinas, or at least North Carolina, and then the South Carolina here in the 50s. And you could get a few days of a pretty decent chill out east. You can see all of those blues and whites. Moving out central, what would this look like if we did get that big cool down here that some models are suggesting? Well, it would be very cold. If the GFS were to happen, you could only imagine. We're seeing 28 degrees in Minnesota. I mean, we're seeing 30, almost in the 30s in northern Tennessee. This would be extremely cold for October. This would be, and again, depending on what happens with this ridge, if it is, look at this. This is trying to get Minneapolis into the teens. 17 degrees out here in South Dakota. We've got Chicago almost freezing in October. This would be October 13th, so this would only be 2 weeks away. Now, could we actually see that big of a cold blast? Yeah, 100%. I think we could, because we have so much ice, so much extra ice and snow up in the Arctic right now, and we have a signal for a very, very strong, not just a moderate or weak Alaskan ridge, but a very strong Alaskan ridge. But do I think the timing and everything is going to be? Look, you have almost 40s down to the Gulf. Do I think the timing's going to be perfect like this? And do I think we're going to see the cold air exactly where this model shows? Absolutely not. This model doesn't know where the stuff's going to be this far out. But there's signals for an event like this to take place. So high confidence that this cooldown's coming right here. There's high confidence in this cooldown getting into the beginning of next week right here. This is very likely to happen. About 150 hours out, these models are agreeing. This push of cold air is very likely to happen, but that's not the one that could be really, really, you know, season changing or pattern changing. This would be the pattern changing one. This would be one that could stick around for a couple weeks. So, exciting stuff there. Let's get back out to the US. I know your friends and family ask you 1,000 questions about weather. I know I would. Oh, yeah. All the time. I usually like answering them, though. Oh, yeah. What's up? What's up, Tufts? Kyle King was popping. I appreciate my 6 new followers. Modelologist. Well, if you'd like me to start doing math equations with you and pulling up, you know, weather balloon data and pulling up satellite data, and we can just do equations instead of using these incredible models that modern technology has given us, we can do that. But I promise you, it would be a lot more boring of a stream. You know what I mean? Modelologist is someone who only uses models. Listen, we have great technology where we have a lot of different ways. You can see all these things, different deterministic short term. We have extendeds, controls, ensembles, all sorts of amazing stuff, SSTs and analogs and all this good stuff that we can look at nowadays. Wasn't that easy back in the day. Not even when I was in school for meteorology. I mean, when I was in school for meteorology, I think, what was the site we had? It was literally, we used like, I think it was literally like weather.com or something like that. What was it back in the day? There was like one site we used for where it had like 2 different models we could look at. And I was in school for meteorology like quite a while ago. I don't want to age myself, but like 14 years ago. And yeah, well, I guess not that long, just over a decade. But I forget what site we used to use. But it was a really crappy site. And that's where like all your weather, it was one site. There wasn't a bunch of different websites you could go on to look at stuff. And it didn't give you that great of data, but it gave you good enough data to create forecasts off of. Nowadays, you know, but again, you can look, anyone can look at these models. All right. It doesn't mean you understand the, you know, there's a lot more that goes into understanding how likely each, you know, you want to understand the trends between the models. You want to understand, you're not looking at a single deterministic model. You're looking at the agreement between deterministic models as compared to the ensembles, as compared, especially in winter, to your teleconnections, as compared to climatological stuff like the MJO and your ice cover and snow cover, and your SSTs. So anyone can just look at a model and say, I believe the model, I think this is going to happen. But there's a lot more things that you should have in the back of your head if you're trying to forecast their outlook, because people who know a little bit about weather can also look at a model and sometimes say, nah, I don't think the Euro is right on this. I think the GFS is going to get this correct, and here's why. Or I think the Euro is right on this, and the GFS is wrong, and here's why. You know, that's what I try to do, especially with outlooks. I mean, you can keep the cold up north. This would be wild right here, huh? That would be this would be crazy. That'd be crazy looking cold blast. How does that look when I push out northern hemisphere? It just you can see down here, It literally, it just rockets down to the south. Look at that. And then explodes out there on the East Coast. That would be something. And by the way, look at our current temperature anomalies up here over portions of Russia and Siberia. Look how cold it is up here. So that snow we have built up here is not going to be melting. It's going to continue to build. So we're going to start with a lot of snow cover, extra snow cover over Siberia. And our ice that's already above average, this is the time of year where our temperatures up here are freezing. It's not going to, our ice is done melting. I'll show you this. Our ice is done melting. This is all freezing air. So all of that is freezing air. So our snow is not going to melt. Our ice is not going to melt. We're going into this winter with much larger of an ice pack and a snow pack. There's no melting that's going to happen at this point, or very little. It's just going to be growing from here on out because we're entering that winter shift. It's basically we already entered winter for people up far north. Their winter season. Dreaming up. Wait, what is it now? Dream Girly, I appreciate you. I thought it said dreaming. I need rain. Farmers started harvesting in Indiana, and the dust is so bad. Yeah, unfortunately, there's not supposed to be any rainfall for like the next 7 to 10 days across the Ohio Valley, portions of New England, or at least very, very little. Tennessee Valley, Mississippi Valley, Southern Plains. I was showing that before. I mean, even just take a look out 5 days. There's none. There's none. You take a look out 7 days and you get hopeful here and you say, oh, look at all this green that filled in. That green's about 1/10 of an inch of rain. If it's not at least dark blue or dark green, it's not any rain. It's 1/10 of an inch, 2/10 of an inch. So we're even looking out a week out and we're seeing nothing. It's not too good in the short term, unfortunately. Our fall color is supposed to be worse in Jersey this year due to no precipitation, no color yet. Fall colors have a lot more to do with temperature than precipitation. You guys are going to get a good push of cold air this week. That's going to start to really trigger a lot of those fall colors. I think you're going to be okay in Jersey because your fall typically doesn't start until like mid to late October near the coast. And we're expecting a decent push of cold air, 2 to 3 decent pushes of cold air in October. So your fall might still be, online with when it should hit. I think we can look at our fall conditions in here now. Let me do something really quickly. Foliage report. All right, so you can see here past peak. Your peak would be high color. The dark red would be peak color. So you're still low color status in Jersey, but you have a lot of time. Pretty low color where I am up here in Minneapolis. So there's already there's portions of the Rockies that have already passed peak fall. Isn't that crazy? You've got some up here in the Appalachians. You've got peak fall up here through portions of the mountains out west of West Virginia, out through portions of western Pennsylvania. Some peak foliage up here in the mountains of New England as well. What's South Texas looking like this fall, winter? I think this area of Texas, specifically northeastern Texas, could have a extra cold winter. It's going to be a little bit of a question mark how below average you guys get down there in southern Texas. Yeah, the fall leaf thing. Otherwise, they're adding new stuff all the time now. It's pretty cool. Do I suspect a hurricane making landfall within the U.S. within the next month? I think we're going to get a hurricane landfall this year, yeah. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in October. We're super lucky we didn't just have Imelda make landfall as a hurricane. We literally, the only scenario where Imelda didn't make landfall as a hurricane is if another hurricane came by and scooped it away, which happened, which is just like crazy rare. 1 in a million. So I would think we'd probably get some sort of landfall in October. We're going to be really deep into that early week La Nina territory with less shear through the Caribbean and Gulf. And NOAA's picking up on increased tropical activity through here. Our ACE is going to go up through here. So this region in particularly southern Gulf of Mexico and Western Caribbean is on high watch over the next few weeks. So weird having hundreds of leaves on the ground in 80-degree weather. Yeah, I bet. Appreciate you, Pam. Yeah. Look at that. That's your that's your Celsius. Oh, I got to show you what I'm looking at. Let's look at our 850 millibar temperature. $850 millibar. That's our Celsius temperature. It's only going to show us in Celsius. The GFS is right about this. Woof. All these trees are dying. That's for sure. Guys, I'm exhausted tonight, so I'm probably going to get off. I had to work late today, and I got up early to post my stuff, so. Dad needs a nap. But I'm going to be off tomorrow, not streaming tomorrow, but that's fine because I'll be able to post one of my the first like educational video I'm posting, which is something that I can do on my off days. So I won't be streaming tomorrow, but I'll be posting tomorrow. So it'll be sooner than you know it. I think so. Traveling up to the Pacific Coast, November into December. What's it looking like? It's a little bit of a question mark up here. A little bit of a... I'll show you guys the latest, actually. Snow projections from the Euro through November 15th. Interesting, huh? Hey, look at that. Maybe we'll get a couple inches in Minneapolis before November 15th. Now, this is what the Euro thinks with the troughing pattern that we're entering. It takes into account the troughing pattern, Enzo, and all that stuff, where we could have snow on the ground before November 15th. Take this with a grain of salt. Obviously, it's fun to look at. It's just where the Euro, it's just going off the Euro probability. So, Pacific Northwest is going to be interesting with the Enzo we're setting up in. We could have a jet stream that sets up like here, and then you're warm in Oregon. We could have it set up south of Oregon for a lot of summer, and then you're very cold in the Pacific Northwest. It's really a toss-up with the weak La Nina. More often than not, though, with the weak La Nina, you have cooler than average temperatures and wetter than average conditions out there in the Pacific Northwest. All right, guys. I'm tired. Everyone have a great night. Mods, I appreciate you being in here. Sorry this wasn't a lot longer stream. Oh, and by the way, oh my gosh, I think I told you guys this already, but I'm going to be in freaking New Jersey next week from Monday to Thursday, including on Wednesday. But my birthday is next Wednesday, October 8th, and I'm going to be on a work trip in a training room all day on my birthday. So anyways, yeah, I will likely not be streaming. Who knows? I may try and stream like Monday morning or something just for fun. But I would say probably don't expect me to stream Monday through Thursday. I'm going to try to stream Monday or Thursday, though. Probably not going to take all 4 days off. But I leave Monday, I get back Thursday. Thanks, Kevin. Yep, and if you want to join the Climate Crew, just add me on Discord. Connor's Climate Corner at Connor's Climate Corner HQ. Connor's Climate Corner HQ. Add me on Discord. I'll add you to the Climate Crew. It's an awesome Discord. We're building an awesome community, and we're doing free merch giveaways. I was supposed to do mine for this month, but I'll do a double merch giveaway probably. We'll see if we can get it done this weekend. I would like to get it done this weekend, guys. I think we can. It's not that hard. I'll make my post. Dublista, appreciate you. All right, everyone, go to bed, and I will talk to all of you tomorrow. See ya.